The great hall of the Galactic Council station fell silent as Ambassador Jake Morrison stepped up to the speaking platform. Around him, hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy watched with their various eyes, sensors, and perception organs. The air tasted different today, and the assembled diplomats could sense something was wrong. Jake looked tired. His dark suit was crisp and professional, but his face showed the weight of too many late nights and difficult decisions. He carried a single data pad in his hand, though he barely glanced at it. He had memorized these words days ago. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Jake began, his voice steady and clear. "I stand before you today to deliver a final message from the people of Earth and all human colonies throughout the galaxy." The alien diplomats leaned forward. "Final message? What did that mean?" "Effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from all Galactic Council affairs. We are resigning our seat, ending all diplomatic relations, and recalling every human representative from Council space." Jake paused, letting the words sink in. "This decision is final and not open to negotiation." The silence shattered. Aliens began shouting in dozens of languages. The Vrexian ambassador, a tall creature covered in blue scales, rose to his full height. "You cannot simply leave. There are procedures, protocols, agreements." Jake remained calm. "We are aware of the protocols. Our legal team has ensured that we are breaking no binding treaties. Any ongoing agreements will be honored until their expiration dates, but no new agreements will be made. Humanity is done with the Galactic Council." A smaller alien with gray skin and large black eyes spoke up. Her name was Thexala, and she had been a mediator for over 400 years. "Ambassador Morrison, please. Whatever grievances you have, we can discuss them. The Council has always valued human contributions." "That is the problem," Jake said quietly. "You valued our contributions but not our voices. You wanted our solutions to your problems but ignored our concerns. For 20 years we tried to work within your system. For 20 years we were patient. That patience has ended." Commander Lisa Hayes stood at the back of the hall with the rest of the human delegation. She watched the alien faces carefully. Some showed confusion. Others showed anger. A few showed what might have been fear. Good, she thought. They should be afraid. Lisa had served in the Human Diplomatic Corps for 15 years. She had seen firsthand how the Council operated. They talked about unity and cooperation, but the reality was different. Ancient alien civilizations held all the real power, and they made sure it stayed that way. Humanity had been useful but never truly welcome. "I must protest," shouted the Keltar representative, a being that looked like a floating collection of crystals. "The Keltar Coalition has trade agreements with 12 human colonies. If you withdraw, those agreements become void. Then you should have thought about that before voting against our proposal to reform the Council's Corruption Oversight Board," Jake replied. Again, for the 5th time. The council chamber erupted in noise again. Jake simply stepped down from the platform and walked toward the exit. Lisa and the other humans fell in behind him. They moved as a unit, ignoring the shouts and demands from the alien diplomats. As they walked through the massive corridors of the council station, Lisa spoke quietly to Jake. "That went better than expected. I thought they might try to physically stop us." Jake shook his head. "They would not dare. Whatever else they are not stupid. Humans might be leaving peacefully, but we are not weak. They know what would happen if they tried force." The human delegation reached the docking bay where their ships waited. 5 sleek vessels bearing Earth's insignia sat ready for departure. Human crew members were already aboard, preparing for launch. They had been ready to leave at a moment's notice. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood at the airlock of his ship, the Defiant. He nodded to Lisa and Jake as they approached. "Commander, Ambassador, all personnel are accounted for. We are ready to depart on your order." "Give the order, Captain," Lisa said. "Let's go home." Far below on Earth, President Daniel Carter stood before the assembled leaders of the unified human government. The room was filled with representatives from every nation, every colony, every human settlement across space. They had all voted. The decision had been unanimous. "The message has been delivered," President Carter announced. "As of this moment, humanity is no longer part of the Galactic Council. Our diplomatic mission is returning home, and all of our people in council space are being recalled." A woman named Susan Brooks, the representative from the Mars colonies, raised her hand. "Mr. President, what about trade? Our economy has become interconnected with dozens of alien civilizations. We will honor existing contracts until they expire, Carter explained, but we are ending all council-mediated trade agreements. Any alien civilization that wishes to trade with us directly may do so through bilateral agreements. Outside the council's framework, we will deal with civilizations one-on-one on our terms. An older man, Governor Paul Martinez from the outer colonies, spoke up. Some people are worried. They think this will lead to war. President Carter's expression was serious. We have considered that possibility. Our military is prepared, but I do not believe the council will risk war with humanity. They need us more than we need them, and they are beginning to realize that. Back on the council station, chaos was spreading. The humans had actually done it. They had walked away. After centuries of civilizations begging to join the council, humanity had simply quit. The Vrexian ambassador grabbed Thexala by her thin arm. This is a disaster. Do you know how many conflicts humans have mediated in the past 10 years? Who will do that now? Thexala pulled her arm free. I do not know. I truly do not know. In another part of the station, a group of younger alien diplomats gathered in a private meeting room. One of them, a being with insect-like features, spoke in a worried tone. My government relied on human technical advisors. Our infrastructure projects will fall apart without them. It is worse than that, said another alien, this one looking like a walking plant. Humans were not just advisors. They were the ones actually making things work. The council just took credit for it. The insect being clicked its mandibles nervously. What do we do? I do not know. But I think the council leadership knows something we do not. They have been acting strange around humans for months now. The human ships jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the council station behind. Inside the Defiant, Captain Ben Rodriguez sat in his command chair and allowed himself a small smile. He had been born on Earth but had spent most of his adult life in space. He had seen countless alien worlds and worked with dozens of different species. He had also seen how those species treated humanity, like useful tools, like clever pets. Never as equals, Captain, his communications officer called out. We are receiving multiple hails from alien vessels. They are requesting permission to speak with us. Denied, Ben said flatly. Send them the standard message. Humanity is no longer engaging in diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council or its member species. All inquiries should be directed to Earth's diplomatic corps, which will evaluate them on a case-by-case basis. The communications officer hesitated.
Sir, one of the messages is from the Xanthari ambassador.
They are claiming an emergency. Send the standard message, Ben repeated. Every alien civilization is going to claim an emergency now. That is not our problem anymore. Ambassador Jake Morrison sat in his private cabin looking out at the stars streaking past. His wife, Karen, had sent him a message earlier. Their daughter, Emma, wanted to know if Daddy was really coming home this time. For years, Jake had promised to spend more time with his family, but the council kept needing him for one more negotiation, one more crisis, one more impossible problem to solve. Not anymore. He was done. Humanity was done. Jake had been one of the first humans to join the Galactic Council 20 years ago. He had been young and idealistic, believing that humans could make a difference in the galaxy. And they had made a difference. They had stopped wars, created new technologies, and brought fresh ideas to ancient problems. But the Council had never truly accepted them. Humans were always the outsiders, always the ones who had to prove themselves. Meanwhile, corrupt alien officials grew rich from bribes, and ancient bureaucracies made sure nothing ever really changed. Jake had finally realized the truth. The Council did not want to change. They wanted to stay in power forever, and they saw humanity as a threat to that power. So humanity was leaving, not with anger, not with war, but simply walking away. Let the galaxy see how well the Council functioned without human innovation and human determination. On Earth, people were celebrating. In cities across the planet, crowds gathered to watch the news. The human ships were coming home. After 20 years of trying to fit into someone else's system, humanity was taking control of its own destiny. President Carter appeared on screens worldwide. My fellow humans, today we have taken a bold step. Some will call it risky, some will call it foolish, but I believe it is necessary. We tried to work within the Galactic Council. We followed their rules, respected their traditions, and contributed everything we could. In return, we were marginalized, dismissed, and betrayed. The president's voice grew stronger. 3 months had passed since humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council. 3 months that had felt like 3 years for the alien diplomats trying to hold their civilization together. Thexala sat in her meditation chamber, something she had not needed to do in decades. 400 years of diplomatic experience should have prepared her for any crisis. But this was different. This was like watching a massive structure collapse in slow motion and being powerless to stop it. The first cracks had appeared within days of the human departure. A trade dispute between the Zephyron Dominion and the Korthan Republic had escalated from minor disagreement to military threats in less than a week. Both sides had moved warships to their shared border. Thexala had followed every protocol in the Council's ancient guidebooks. She had called for arbitration meetings. She had invited both sides to present their cases before neutral mediators. She had quoted centuries of trade law and precedent. Nothing worked. The Zephrons claimed the Korthans were cheating on tariff agreements. The Korthans said the Zephrons were lying about product quality. Both sides dug in their positions and refused to compromise. 2 years ago, a human negotiator named Linda Watson had solved a nearly identical dispute in 3 days. Thexala had watched her work. Linda had ignored the formal protocols and instead talked to both sides like they were reasonable people having a simple disagreement. She had found a solution so obvious that everyone wondered why they had not seen it themselves. But Linda Watson was gone. All the humans were gone, and Thexala was left trying to remember how they had made it look so easy. The situation at the border grew worse. 3 Zephyron warships and 4 Korthan cruisers faced each other across an invisible line in space. Both sides were waiting for the Council to do something. Anything. Thexala called for an emergency session. The Council chamber filled with diplomats, all of them looking worried. She presented the situation and asked for suggestions. The Vrexian ambassador proposed economic sanctions against whichever side fired first. The Keltar representative suggested sending a Council peacekeeping force. A dozen other aliens offered their own ideas, each more complicated than the last. Hours passed. The debate went in circles. Every solution raised new problems. Every proposal got blocked by some ancient rule or treaty that nobody had thought about in centuries. Finally, a junior diplomat from a small species dared to speak up. Maybe we should ask the humans for help. The chamber fell silent. Then the Vrexian ambassador slammed his clawed hand on his desk. Never. Humanity chose to abandon the Council. We will not go crawling back to them. Then what do we do? The junior diplomat asked quietly. Nobody had an answer. Far from the Council station, Captain Ben Rodriguez commanded the Defiant on patrol along humanity's new borders. Human space had consolidated in the months since the withdrawal. All human colonies and stations now existed within a clearly defined territory, and human ships guarded every entry point. Captain, we have another one, his communications officer reported. Alien vessel requesting permission to enter human space. Ben sighed. This happens several times a day now. What do they want? They claim to be merchants seeking trade agreements. Send the standard response. All trade requests must go through official channels. No unauthorized entry into human space will be permitted. The alien ship lingered at the border for a few minutes, then turned away. Ben watched it go. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. His first officer, a woman named Kate Fisher, approached his command chair. Sir, that is the 15th ship this week. They are getting desperate out there. Not our problem, Ben said, though his voice carried less certainty than his words. We left the Council. We did not promise to solve their problems forever. Kate nodded, but she looked troubled. I know, sir. But some of these species genuinely need help. The Trellin convoy yesterday was carrying medical supplies. Their homeworld is experiencing a plague, and they needed human pharmaceutical expertise. Did they refuse to help us when we needed it? Ben asked. Did they support us when we asked for fair treatment in the Council? No. They stood by and did nothing while the Council leadership blocked our proposals and sabotaged our efforts. I understand, sir, Kate said quietly, but I wonder if we are punishing the innocent along with the guilty. Ben did not have a good answer for that. On Earth, Dr. Amy Peterson worked in a research facility outside of Denver. The building was new. constructed specifically for projects that had been held back by council regulations. Now those regulations no longer applied. Amy stood in front of a massive holographic display showing a new engine design. It would allow ships to travel 3 times faster than current human vessels. The physics had been understood for years, but the council had forbidden its development, claiming it was too dangerous. The council had forbidden a lot of things. Weapons research beyond certain limits, artificial intelligence above specific thresholds, genetic modifications for medical purposes, nanotechnology applications. The list went on and on. The official reason was always safety. But Amy and her colleagues had suspected the truth. The council did not want humanity to advance too quickly. They wanted to keep humans dependent and controllable. Now the restrictions were gone. Human scientists were free to pursue any line of research they chose, limited only by their own ethical standards and Earth's laws. The results were remarkable. Dr. Peterson, her assistant, called out. The test results from the medical division just came in. The nerve regeneration therapy works. We can repair spinal injuries. Amy felt a smile spread across her face. Really? Full recovery? Complete nerve function restoration in all test subjects. Dr. Hayes said it is the biggest breakthrough in neurology in 50 years. For 50 years, the council had rejected human requests to research advanced medical nanotechnology. They had said it was too risky, too unpredictable. Now humans had proven them wrong. In 3 months of unrestricted research, Amy wondered how many people had suffered unnecessarily because the council had been afraid of human innovation. Back on the council station, Administrator Calvor sat in the central archives, surrounded by data that made his blood run cold. He was a Methodian, a species known for their love of records and statistics. For the past month, he had been analyzing the council's performance over the last 20 years. The numbers told a disturbing story. Since humanity joined the council 20 years ago, the success rate of diplomatic resolutions had increased by 340%. Trade disputes settled peacefully had gone up by 280%. Scientific collaboration between species had exploded by over 500%. The council had experienced what historians were calling a new golden age. Kelvor had assumed this was because the council itself had improved. Better procedures, better training, better systems. But as he dug deeper into the data, he discovered something else. Every single major success had human involvement. Every breakthrough in negotiations featured a human mediator or advisor. Every successful trade agreement had been drafted or revised by human legal experts. Every collaborative scientific project had human researchers bringing different species together. Humans had not just participated in the council's golden age. They had created it. Kelvor ran a more detailed analysis. He looked at every council resolution, every treaty, every agreement over the past 20 years. The computer calculated human involvement in each one. The results appeared on his screen. 73% of all successful council actions had human involvement. 73%. Kelvor sat back in shock. The council had not been functioning well for 20 years. Humans had been doing the actual work while the council took credit for it. He immediately sent his findings to Council Chair Vexinar. The trade dispute between the Zephrons and Corthans finally exploded into violence. Not a full war, but skirmishes. Ships fired on each other. People died. And the Galactic Council proved powerless to stop it. Thexala had never felt so helpless. She had spent her entire life believing in the Council's mission. Now she watched it fail, and she could not fix it. Other problems erupted across the galaxy. Trade routes collapsed because nobody could negotiate fair passage rights. Scientific projects stalled because different species could not agree on research protocols. Long-standing peace treaties started to unravel as old grievances resurfaced. The galaxy was not falling apart. Not yet. But it was cracking, and the cracks were spreading. Council Chair Vexinar called an emergency meeting of the senior leadership. 20 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered in a secure chamber. "We have a crisis," Vexinar stated simply. "Kelvor's analysis confirms what we feared. The Council has been dependent on human involvement far more than anyone realized. Without them, we are failing." The Vrexian ambassador crossed his arms. "So we ask them to return. Offer them better terms, more representation, whatever they want." "We tried that," another diplomat said. 5 different delegations have approached human space. All were turned away. "The humans will not even talk to us." "Then we make them talk," the Vrexian insisted. "How?" Vexinar asked quietly. Send warships to threaten them? The humans have been preparing their defenses for months. Even if we won such a war, we would lose everything else in the process. And we might not win. That sobering thought silenced the room. A Keltar representative, a young diplomat named Jextor, spoke up. The Council's desperation had reached new heights. 5 months after humanity's withdrawal, the cracks in galactic civilization had become canyons. Everywhere Thexala looked, she saw problems that would have taken humans days to solve, but now seemed impossible. She walked through the Council Station's commercial district, and the change was obvious. Shops stood empty. Aliens who had once traded goods from hundreds of worlds now struggled to maintain supply lines. The humans had not just been mediators and diplomats. They had been the glue holding countless business relationships together. A Trellan merchant stopped Thexala in the corridor. His species looked like walking octopi, and his tentacles waved in distress. "Mediator Thexala, please. You must help me. My trade partners from 3 different worlds refuse to work with each other. They all want exclusive agreements. The humans used to arrange shared contracts that satisfied everyone. Can you not do the same?" Thexala tried. She spent 2 hours attempting to negotiate a solution, but each species had different communication styles, different expectations, different ways of thinking about business. The humans had somehow bridged these gaps effortlessly. Thexala found it exhausting and ultimately unsuccessful. The Trellan merchant left disappointed. Thexala felt like a failure. Council Chair Vexinar sent another delegation to human space. This one was led by Ambassador Crintal, who had been friendly with several human diplomats. Surely they would at least listen to him. The human border. Patrol sent the same message they sent everyone. Humanity is not accepting diplomatic contact with Galactic Council representatives. Please leave human space immediately. Crintal tried to argue. He sent messages explaining that this was unofficial, just one friend talking to another. The human response was polite but firm. All humans in the diplomatic corps have resigned their positions. They are private citizens now and have no authority to negotiate with you. Please leave human space. Crintal returned to the council station empty-handed and humiliated. Meanwhile, human territories were sealed tight. Ships patrolled the borders constantly. Captain Ben Rodriguez had been joined by dozens of other vessels, all maintaining the blockade. Not a military blockade, exactly. Alien ships were not attacked, but they were not allowed in either. The message was clear. Humanity had drawn a line, and they would not allow anyone to cross it without permission. Inside human space, something remarkable was happening. Dr. Amy Peterson worked longer hours than ever, but she had never been happier. Free from council restrictions, human scientists were making breakthroughs almost weekly. The new faster-than-light engine was ready for testing. Medical science had advanced by decades in just a few months. Energy production had become cleaner and more efficient. Agricultural systems produced more food with fewer resources. Every field of research was exploding with progress, but it was not just about technology. Human artists were creating works inspired by their new independence. Writers published stories about humanity standing alone against the galaxy. Musicians composed anthems celebrating freedom from alien control. A cultural renaissance was blooming. Amy attended a public forum where President Daniel Carter spoke to crowds both in person and across the global network. "Some people ask if we made a mistake," Carter said. "They wonder if we should try to reconcile with the Council." My answer is simple. Look at what we have accomplished in just 5 months. Look at how we have grown, how we have thrived, freed from restrictions and limitations that held us back. The crowd cheered. Carter continued, "We are not isolationists. We are not xenophobes. We simply refuse to be controlled by a system that does not respect us. If aliens wish to deal with us as equals, as true partners, we are open to that. But we will never again bow to the Council." More cheers. Amy found herself applauding along with everyone else. Back on the Council station, Administrator Kelvor was still digging through records. What he found made him sick to his core. There were secret files, heavily encrypted and hidden deep in the archives. files that showed Council leadership had deliberately worked against human interests for years. Kelvor cross-referenced dates and found patterns that could not be coincidental. When humans requested permission to establish a colony in the Deneb sector, the Council had delayed approval for 3 years, claiming bureaucratic complications. Kelvor found internal memos showing the delay was intentional. The Deneb sector had valuable resources, and old Council powers did not want humans accessing them. When human companies tried to bid on major construction projects, their proposals were often rejected for technical reasons. Kelvor found evidence that the technical reviews were rigged. Human designs were frequently superior, but Council officials made sure contracts went to established alien corporations instead. When human researchers made scientific breakthroughs, the Council's publication board delayed releasing the information. They claimed to be checking for errors, but Kelvor found messages showing they were really trying to let alien scientists catch up first. The Council did not want humans to appear too far ahead. The pattern was everywhere. Humans blocked from important committees. Human proposals trapped in endless review processes. Human achievements downplayed or credited to others. All of it calculated to limit human influence while still benefiting from human capabilities. Kelvor knew he should report this to Council Chair Vexinar. But would it matter? The leadership already knew. They had to know. This level of coordination required approval from the top. He sat in the dark archives, surrounded by evidence of systematic betrayal, and wondered what kind of organization he had devoted his life to serving. The economic situation grew critical. Dozens of alien civilizations had become dependent on human goods and technology. Replacement parts for human-designed systems were impossible to obtain. Technical support was gone. Training and consultation services had vanished. Some alien groups tried to reverse engineer human technology. Most failed. Human designs were often simple and elegant, but they required a way of thinking that other species struggled to replicate. Humans saw problems differently, and their solutions reflected that unique perspective. Black markets emerged. Smugglers offered human goods at extreme prices. Some were legitimate products acquired before the withdrawal. Others were counterfeits or stolen items. Desperate aliens paid anyway. The Council tried to crack down on illegal trade, but they lacked the resources. Human advisors had helped coordinate anti-smuggling operations. Without them, criminal networks operated freely. A Corthan official approached Thexala with a desperate request. Our planetary defense grid uses human-designed software. It needs an update, but we do not have the access codes. Can you help us contact human technical support? Thexala explained that such support no longer existed for non-human clients. The Corthan official looked terrified. But what if someone attacks us? Our defenses will fail. Then you should not have relied so heavily on human technology without learning to maintain it yourselves, Thexala said, and immediately regretted her harsh tone. But it was the truth. The galaxy had become lazy, depending on humans to solve every problem. Now they were paying the price for that laziness. Scientific cooperation across the galaxy was collapsing. Research projects that involved multiple species were falling apart. The problem was not just the loss of human scientists, though that was significant. Humans had also served as mediators between other species who did not communicate well with each other. A Vrexian biologist and a Keltar physicist might have completely different approaches to the same research question. In the past, a human colleague would have helped them find common ground. Now they argued and made no progress. Academic publications dropped by 40%. Major projects were canceled. Centuries of scientific tradition were unraveling. The military situation was also deteriorating. Small conflicts continued to erupt. The Zephron-Corthan dispute had escalated into ongoing skirmishes. Other border tensions were heating up. Rumors of piracy increased. Council peacekeeping forces tried to maintain order, but they were spread thin. Human military advisors had helped train and coordinate these forces. Without that expertise, the peacekeepers were less effective. Some radical groups began calling for action against humanity. They have abandoned their obligations, one speaker shouted at a council session. They must be forced to return. But wiser voices knew that was impossible. Humanity had the military strength to defend itself. More importantly, the council could not afford a war. They were barely holding civilization together as it was. President Carter received intelligence reports about the council's struggles. His advisors presented the information during a secure meeting. Mr. President, the situation in council space is getting bad. Some people think we should offer humanitarian assistance. Carter shook his head. We left for good reasons. Those reasons have not changed. The council created this situation through their own actions. They must deal with the consequences. But sir, one advisor pressed, innocent people are suffering. Not the corrupt officials, but regular citizens who had nothing to do with the council's decisions. I know, Carter said quietly. And that troubles me. But if we rush back to help, what message does that send? That the council can treat us badly. Jake Morrison had not expected to enjoy retirement, but he was wrong. His small house in the Colorado mountains was peaceful. No alien delegations demanding his attention. No impossible negotiations that needed to be completed by tomorrow. Just quiet mornings with coffee and his wife, Karen, and evenings helping his daughter Emma with her homework. He was fixing the fence behind his house when a human security officer appeared at his gate. Mr. Morrison, sorry to disturb you, sir, but there is someone who needs to speak with you urgently. Jake put down his tools, already feeling tired. I am retired. I do not do diplomatic work anymore. This is not official business, sir. An alien has reached our border and is requesting to speak specifically with you. He claims to have classified information about the council's treatment of humanity. That got Jake's attention. What kind of information? He would not say, sir. But our intelligence people think he is legitimate. His name is Kelrin and he works in the council archives. Jake sighed. Give me an hour to clean up and tell my wife I will be late for dinner. The meeting took place in a secure government facility. Jake sat across from an alien he had never met before. Kelrin looked nervous, his skin changing colors in a pattern that Jake recognized as distress among his species. Ambassador Morrison, Kelrin began. Just Jake. I am not an ambassador anymore. Very well, Jake. I have come a long way to deliver this information. What I am about to show you is classified at the highest levels of the council. I am committing treason by being here. Why risk it? Jake asked. Because my species values truth, and the truth about how the council treated humanity must be known. Kelrin placed a data device on the table. This contains years of secret communications, internal memos, and classified documents. They prove that council leadership deliberately sabotaged human interests. Jake felt his jaw tighten. We suspected as much. That is why we left. You suspected, yes. But this is proof. Dates, names, specific actions. They delayed your colony applications. They rigged contract bids against your companies. They suppressed your scientific achievements. They blocked your representatives from key positions. All of it planned and coordinated from the top. Jake took the data device. His hands were shaking slightly.
Why are you giving this to me?
Because it is wrong, Kelrin said simply. My people believe that wrongs must be exposed to light. The council wronged humanity. You deserve to know the full extent of that wrong. Jake spent 3 days reviewing the files with government analysts. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. The conspiracy against humanity went back almost to the day they joined the council. Every setback, every delay, every mysterious rejection had been deliberate. The council leadership had seen humanity as a threat from the beginning. Young, innovative, questioning everything. They would either need to be controlled or eliminated as competition. Since they could not eliminate humans, they tried to control them, limit their expansion, restrict their development, keep them useful but powerless. Jake found one memo that made his blood boil. It was from 8 years ago, written by a senior council official. Humans are becoming too influential. We must take steps to ensure they remain dependent on council infrastructure. Their independence is dangerous to established order. Established order. That was what it had always been about. The old powers wanted to keep their power, and humans threatened that power simply by being different. Jake took the information to President Carter. They met in the Oval Office along with key cabinet members and military advisors. This is explosive, Carter said. reading through the summaries. If we release this to the public, it will justify everything we have done. It will show the galaxy exactly why we left. It will also humiliate the Council, Jake added, and possibly destabilize the entire galactic government. Is that our problem? Asked Secretary of Defense Helen Price. They brought this on themselves. True, Jake said. But the question is, what do we want to achieve? Revenge or something else? The room fell silent as everyone considered that question. President Carter stood and walked to the window. Outside, people went about their lives, free and independent. That was what mattered most. We do not need revenge, Carter finally said. We already have what we wanted. Freedom, independence, the ability to chart our own course. Releasing these files would feel satisfying, but would it improve our situation? Or would it just create more chaos in a galaxy that is already struggling? So we do nothing? Helen asked. We let the Council get away with it? No, Carter said. We do not let them get away with it, but we use this information strategically, not emotionally. We hold on to it. Let the Council know we have it. Make them understand that we could destroy their credibility if we wanted to, but we choose not to because we are better than that. Jake nodded slowly, a sword hanging over their heads. Exactly, Carter agreed. Power is not always about using the weapons you have. Sometimes it is about making sure everyone knows you have them. The decision was made. The information would remain classified for now. But key Council leaders would be quietly informed that humanity knew everything. They would understand that their secrets were no longer safe. Meanwhile, word of the files began to leak anyway. Not from official sources, but through the galactic rumor network. Kelrin's defection had not gone unnoticed. People began to whisper. What had he revealed? What did the humans know? On Earth and human colonies, the news spread through official channels. The government released a carefully worded statement. We have received documentation confirming that the Galactic Council leadership engaged in systematic discrimination against humanity. While we could use this information to embarrass the Council, we choose to focus on our future rather than their past. However, we will not forget what was done to us. The human population reacted with anger but also with pride. Their government had been right to leave. And now they had proof. In Council space, panic spread among the leadership. Vexinar called emergency meetings. How much did humans know? What would they do with the information? The Vrexian ambassador, who had been one of the architects of the anti-human policies, suddenly took a leave of absence for health reasons. Several other officials quietly resigned. They knew the evidence existed, and they wanted to distance themselves from the scandal before it exploded. Thexala learned about the files from a colleague. She had not been involved in the conspiracy, but she felt sick knowing it had existed. She had believed in the Council. She had devoted her life to its mission. Now she learned it was all built on deception. She went to Vexinar's office and demanded answers. Is it true? Did the Council really sabotage humanity intentionally? Vexinar looked older than Thexala had ever seen him. Yes, it is true. Not everyone knew. It was decided at the highest levels. We were afraid of what humanity would become if left unchecked. So you betrayed them. We tried to control them, Vexinar corrected. We failed. And now we face the consequences. What happens now? Thexala asked. I do not know, Vexinar admitted. We are at humanity's mercy. If they release those files, the Council will collapse. Trust in galactic institutions will be destroyed. Chaos will spread. Perhaps the Council deserves to collapse, Thexala said bitterly. She left his office and walked through the station corridors. Everywhere she looked, she saw a civilization in decline. Trade was down. Cooperation was breaking down. Small wars were spreading. The Golden Age was over, killed by the Council's own arrogance. Back on the Defiant, Captain Ben Rodriguez received new orders. Human leadership had decided to allow certain alien ships to enter human space under strict conditions. Medical emergencies would be evaluated case by case. Genuine refugees fleeing violence would be considered for humanitarian aid. But all contact would be carefully controlled. It was a small opening, but significant. Humanity was not completely closed off. They were just selective about who they helped. Ben thought about the wounded children from weeks ago. He hoped they had survived. He would never know. Kate Fisher approached him on the bridge. Captain, we have something unusual. An alien ship broadcasting a distress signal. They claim their life support is failing. Position? Ben asked. Just inside our border, sir. They are drifting. Ben reviewed the sensor data. The ship was small, civilian, and its systems were indeed failing. It could be legitimate. It could also be a trick. Send a message, Ben decided. We will assist, but they will be boarded and searched first. If this is some kind of trap, they will regret it. The boarding team found no tricks. Just a family of aliens whose ship had broken down. They had been trying to reach human space to seek asylum from the fighting in their home sector. Their navigation system had failed at the worst possible moment. Ben authorized repairs and allowed them temporary refuge in a human station. It was a small gesture, but it felt right. Humanity could be firm about their boundaries while still showing compassion when appropriate. The family was grateful to the point of tears. We heard humans no longer help anyone, the father said. We are so glad we were wrong. We help those who deserve help, Ben replied. We just do not help those who used and betrayed us. It was a subtle distinction, but an important one. On Earth, Jake Morrison watched the news reports about the leaked. The alert came at 0300 hours, waking Captain Ben Rodriguez from a deep sleep. His communicator was buzzing with urgent priority messages. Captain Rodriguez, you are needed on the bridge immediately. We have a situation. Ben pulled on his uniform and ran. The bridge was already full of activity when he arrived. Kate Fisher turned to him with a grim expression. Sir, we are receiving distress calls from the Galactic Core. Multiple systems under attack. The reports are confused, but it sounds bad. Under attack by who? Ben demanded, looking at the displays. Not who, sir. What? An ancient automated defense system has activated. It is attacking every ship and station in its range. Ben felt his blood run cold. The Sentinel network? That is what the aliens are calling it. Some kind of ancient weapon system left behind by a dead civilization. It has been dormant for thousands of years. The Sentinel network was legendary. Ancient ruins throughout the galaxy showed evidence of a powerful civilization that had built incredible defensive systems before mysteriously vanishing. Most people thought the Sentinels were just myths or long dead. Apparently they were wrong. Get me a detailed report, Ben ordered, and contact command. They need to know about this. The Situation Room at Human Military Headquarters filled rapidly with senior officers and government officials. President Carter arrived within the hour, still wearing casual clothes. Admiral Chris Bennett, the highest-ranking officer in the human fleet, began the briefing. Approximately 4 hours ago, the Sentinel network in the Galactic Core region activated. We do not know why. The systems have identified all modern ships and stations as threats and are engaging them with extreme prejudice. A holographic display showed the affected region. Hundreds of star systems, millions of inhabitants. Current casualty estimates? Carter asked. Unknown, but likely in the thousands already and rising fast. The Sentinels use weapons technology far beyond anything the Council has. Their ships are being destroyed easily. What is the Council doing? Admiral Bennett grimaced. Panicking. They tried to send a military task force. It was obliterated in minutes. They have no effective response. The Sentinels are too advanced, too numerous, and they do not negotiate. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council was asking humanity for help. They had to be. They had no other option. Have they contacted us? Carter asked. Not yet, sir. But we received a message from Council Chair Vexinar. He is on his way to our border. Personally. Carter leaned back in his chair. He is coming himself? That is either very brave or very desperate. Both, I think, sir. The meeting continued for hours. Military strategists analyzed the Sentinel threat. Diplomats debated the political implications. Scientists theorized about how to counter ancient technology. Finally, Carter asked the question everyone was thinking. Can we help them? Admiral Bennett nodded slowly. Our technology is different from what the Council uses. Our ships might be able to survive longer against the Sentinels, and our tactical approach is more flexible. We might be able to find weaknesses the Council cannot see, but sir, it would be risky. We could lose a lot of people, and if we do nothing, thousands, maybe millions of aliens die. The Galactic Core becomes a dead zone. The Council collapses completely. Chaos spreads across the galaxy. Carter looked around the room. I want honest opinions. Should we help them? Secretary of Defense Helen Price spoke first. From a military standpoint, it is not our fight. We have no obligation to risk human lives for the Council after what they did to us. From a humanitarian standpoint, added another official, We cannot stand by and watch genocide, even if the perpetrators are machines. Those are innocent people dying. The debate went back and forth. Finally, Carter raised his hand for silence. Here is what I believe. The council wronged us. They betrayed us. They do not deserve our help. But this is not about what they deserve. This is about who we are. Are we the kind of people who let innocents die because we are angry at their leaders? Or are we better than that? He paused, letting that sink in. I think we are better than that. I think humanity's strength has always been our compassion, even for those who wronged us. We do not help the council because they earned it. We help because it is right. The vote was not unanimous, but it was clear. Humanity would intervene. Council Chair Vexinar arrived at the human border in a small diplomatic vessel. He was told to wait while his request was processed. He waited for 6 hours alone in his ship, wondering if humans would simply leave him there. Finally, Captain Ben Rodriguez contacted him. Council Chair Vexinar, you are cleared to enter human space. You will be escorted to a diplomatic facility on Luna. Thank you, Captain, Vexinar said, relieved. I was beginning to fear you would not respond. We almost did not, Ben said honestly. But ultimately we decided you deserved a hearing. Follow my ship. The journey to Luna gave Vexinar time to think. He was about to beg for help from the people his government had betrayed. The irony was not lost on him. He had lived for 3 centuries and held positions of power for most of that time. Now he felt like a beggar. The diplomatic facility was simple by galactic standards, but clean and functional. Very human. Vexinar was taken to a meeting room where President Carter and several advisors waited. Mr. President, Vexinar began, I thank you for seeing me. You came a long way, Carter replied. Speak your piece. Vexinar had prepared a speech full of diplomatic language and careful phrases. But looking at the human president, he realized that would be a mistake. Humans value directness. My people are dying, Vexinar said simply. An ancient weapon system has activated and is destroying everything in the galactic core. We cannot stop it. We have tried. We have lost thousands already. Without help, we will lose millions. You want human military intervention? Yes. Why should we help you? Carter asked. Not hostile, but genuinely curious. Your government conspired against us for years. You used us, limited us, betrayed us. Now you want us to risk human lives to save your people? Vexinar felt shame wash over him. We do not deserve your help. I know that. But the people dying are not the ones who wronged you. They are civilians, families, children. They had no part in what the council leadership did. That is true, Carter acknowledged. But decisions have consequences. Your government chose to betray us. Now your people suffer for that choice. Yes, Vexinar said quietly. You are right. We made terrible choices. I made terrible choices. I was part of the conspiracy against humanity. I allowed fear to guide our actions. We were afraid of your innovation, your questions, your refusal to accept the old ways. So we tried to control you, and we failed, and now we pay the price. Carter studied the alien leader. You admit it? No excuses, no justifications? What excuse could I give? Vexinar asked. We were wrong. Completely, absolutely wrong. We betrayed you because we were small-minded and scared. If you refused to help us, it would be justice. Harsh justice, but justice nonetheless. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Carter spoke. I appreciate your honesty. That could not have been easy to say. The truth rarely is, Vexinar replied. Carter stood and walked to a window overlooking Earth. Chair Vexinar, humanity is going to help you, not because you deserve it, but because innocent people do not deserve to die for their leaders' mistakes. We will send our fleet to fight the sentinels. Vexinar felt relief flood through him. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot express how grateful I am. I am not finished, Carter said sharply. We will help you, but on our terms. This is not us rejoining the council. This is not us forgiving what was done to us. This is a humanitarian mission, nothing more. When it is over, we return to our space and you return to yours. Are we clear? Perfectly clear, Vexinar agreed. And one more thing, Carter added. After this is over, the council will reform. Real reform, not cosmetic changes. The corruption ends. The backroom deals end. The discrimination ends. You will create a system based on fairness and merit, not politics and fear, or humanity will release every document we have showing what you did to us. The galaxy will see your crimes in full detail. Vexenar nodded. I accept those terms, gladly. The Council needs to change. Perhaps it needed humanity to show us that. 12 hours later, the human fleet jumped into the galactic core region. Admiral Chris Bennett commanded from the flagship Liberty. Around him, 50 human warships moved in perfect formation. They were not the largest fleet in the galaxy, but they were the most advanced and best trained. Captain Beth Lawson commanded the strike carrier Valor. Her ship carried specialized fighters designed for quick hit-and-run attacks, the kind of tactics humans had perfected during their years of independence. The sentinels appeared on sensors immediately. Massive ships, thousands of years old but still deadly. They moved with mechanical precision, targeting anything that moved. All ships, this is Admiral Bennett, the fleet commander announced. Remember your training. These are machines, not thinking opponents. They will follow predictable patterns. We exploit those patterns. Stay mobile, stay coordinated, and stay alive. Good hunting. The battle began. Human ships moved in ways the Sentinels did not expect. Where Council fleets had fought in rigid formations, humans used fluid tactics. Where aliens had tried to match firepower, humans used speed and deception.